Yo, what is up, guys? It's your girl Bex, and welcome back to the race rundown post weekend in Mexico. The Mexico Grand Prix, arguably one of the most chaotic races we've had so far this season. Let's just jump straight into it, shall we? Let's go, bitches. Will Lando take the lead? Yes, he did. I've noted down here that 1.91 seconds in Italy was the fastest pit stop for McLaren. Just as a note, because I thought they might actually beat it this weekend. Plot twist, they did not. So, what we have here is the first problem of the day. Nico reporting problems in the formation lap with his engine. He did eventually DNF. I've then got here, I'm stressed. I was very stressed, people. I was very, very stressed. Indeed. You would not believe what my heart rate hit during this weekend. I literally put, Lando, don't bottle the start. And then underneath I put, he didn't bottle the start. Thank God. Turn 1 was just chaos. I tried to write notes as quickly as I could. It was an impossible task. Stroll goes spinning off in the background, which made for quite a good shot for Sky F1, actually. I bet they were proud of that one. Ollie's then up in 6th. I was screaming at this point. I'm like, yes, Ollie! Come on! Oscar is from 7th down to 11th from pure chaos alone, with Russell and Max having a tangle again. Is anyone else getting bored of this Max and George rivalry? I am. And his comments about Max didn't age very well, as we'll see later on. Lando, 1.663 seconds clear of Leclerc going into lap 3. Lap 3, Lawson changes his front wing due to absolute chaos in the first lap. Lap 3, yellow flags being waved for debris on track, probably Lawson's car. Lap 4, Yuki holding up Oscar, thank God. Yuki, you know what you need to do, bro. You know what you need to do. Lap 6, Hamilton off after locking up. Didn't use the slip road correctly. We all know what happened there. Behrman is in 4th, I've got in all capital letters. You could tell I was very happy about that. Max makes a lunge again, taking them both off track. Not shocked by that. Behrman's smart in the chaos and ends up in 4th. Very smart move from him. Lap 8, Sainz and Alonso noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. There was no further investigation into this, I believe. Lap 9, Lawson then DNFs. Lewis at this point is up for investigation for not following the escape road correctly. Again, we all know what happened there. Lap 11, Oscar finally passed Yuki. Thank you, Yuki, for keeping Oscar at bay. Again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Obviously, due to the background, it's evident that I like Lando, okay? I will be happy if even McLaren wins. However, I'm partial to a little bit of Norris, okay? I like Lando Norris, I can't help it. Anyway, we move on. Ollie is keeping Max at bay on lap 12. Bernie Collins was with us this weekend, providing amazing insight. As always, I literally have in a nice green cloud on my notes. I love Bernie Collins so much. I am a Bernie Collins stan. I'm a Bernie Collins stan. Lap 14, 5-second gap from Charles Leclerc. For Lando, 1.5 second gap Ollie has pushed away from Max. Pretty impressive, considering the Haas is borderline a tractor. Lap 15, no further investigation from not following the safety road, but still being investigated for gaining an advantage. That was for Max. It then comes up on the board, 10-second penalty for Hamilton for gaining an advantage. Not good. I have no words. I mean, of all the penalties that were dished out, I thought it was a little bit harsh. Lewis thought it was a little bit harsh, as he mentioned in the post-race interviews. I don't know, man. Anyway, lap 16, Charles also did this at the start, so let's hope he doesn't get hit with it. He didn't, by the way. Lap 18, 7-second gap between Lando and Charles. Sainz then pits for softs. I then have 2-stop strategy here. It wasn't a 2-stop, I believe. I believe it was only a 1-stop. I could be wrong. Oscar all over the shop as Russell goes deep. Lap 20, Lewis and Max investigation still ongoing. Max ends up getting cleared of this. Lap 21, Oscar is slow out of the corners compared to Russell. Lap 23, Lewis is driving angry now thanks to that infamous Ferrari radio. They really need to get better at communicating with him, like genuinely. He then pits in lap 24 but doesn't get a penalty for lap 1 other than gaining an advantage, so that's a good thing. He then has to obviously sit for 10 seconds. starts. Lap 25, Max can't hear anything over the radio, which I thought was interesting. I think they later discussed that radio message about the stop strategies was not for him, it was for someone else. Lap 25, Oscar then pits. Ollie pits as well with a 2.7 second pit stop. Piastri then down in 13th. Lap 26, Russell then pits. After the pits, Oscar is back behind Russell again. Sainz being investigated for speeding in the pit lane. This happened twice. He got 2 5-second penalties for speeding in the pit lane. Lap 28, Hülkenberg is finally out of the race after reporting car problems before the race even started. Behrman is then gaining on Isaac Hadjar. Crofty is jinxing Behrman at this point, saying that he could get a podium. Well and truly jinxed him, might I add. Crofty and Karim just jinxed him completely. Lap 30, Oscar is past Isaac Hadjar. Lap 30, there was also a 16-second gap between Lando in first and Leclerc in second. Lap 31, Leclerc was meant to pit, however he didn't. He then came in on lap 32. I think that was because of a slow radio message to get to him, so he'd already passed the pit lane before then, but that's fine. Lap 33, a 28-second lead between Lando and Max in second. Lap 34, Piastri in 8th, battling with Yuki. He then moves up to 7th. Lando pits lap 35 for a 2.6 second pit stop. Absolutely outstanding. It was enough for him to go in, pit, and still come out in a clear track. Lap 35, Merck tells Russell he's in the clear to overtake Kimi after he starts pissing and moaning on the radio about being faster than Kimi. No team orders there then, I see. However, this was later contradicted by switching them over. Alonso DNF in lap 36. They had to retire the car. Then, the Merck pit wall was a bit sassy this week. It was a little bit sassy. Lewis, you're missing out on all the fun over there, buddy. Russell literally said one of my favourite things of all time. There is a car in my fucking arse, is literally what he said. And he also said, I've got a McLaren up my arse. Would you like to let them pass too? Which I found that quite funny, to be honest. But people have stitched it. We'll talk about this later in the off-track notes, but people have stitched it with his comments made about Max. And it's comical. Max pits lap 38 and comes out 5th behind Hamilton. George is giving sass over the radio even more with lap 40. Piastri on Russell. Marcus comes over the radio and says, George, your tyres are a bit warm, mate. George then says, Marcus, I have a car in my fucking arse and I've got the sass. Russell and Antonelli then swap 5 laps too late, in my opinion. Russell's cooked his tyres at this point. The commentary team then says, does he get a soft on? I lost it at that point. Let's not elaborate on that anymore. Lap 45, gap between Leclerc and Norris, 20 seconds. Alex is frustrated on the radio as always, and Behrman is nailing it in 3rd. Lando was 1.7 seconds faster than Oscar. Max is past Lewis on lap 47. Potential floor damage for Lewis at this point. Antonelli and Oscar pit at the same time, with Oscar coming out ahead. Well played, McLaren pit wall. Lap 49, Ocon is in 6th, Russell is in 4th and is pitting. Behrman is pitting too, and Behrman comes out still ahead. Well done, Haas. Absolutely outstanding, I've got written here. Ocon overtaken by Oscar and Kimi, one after the other. Behrman drops back from Max. I said, could he win a podium? No, he couldn't. He only made it into 4th. Lap 50, Leclerc and Norris still on mediums. Will Max keep 3rd? Yes, he did. Oscar noted for collision between him and Ocon. No further investigation. Leclerc staying out until the end, he got told by Ferrari. 2.3 second pit stop for Oliver. Let's go. Albon and Sainz switch. Albon's not very happy about that. Piastri is then gaining on Russell. Sainz was speeding in the pit lane again, so another 5-second penalty. Lap 57, Behrman has Russell under control. Lap 60, Oscar is past Russell. So not only could Russell not get past Behrman, he then got outdone by a McLaren. Lap 62, Antonelli trying his luck on the radio, basically saying, well, you said that you could get past Behrman and you didn't, so can I have a go now? And what did they do on lap 63? They switched them back. Love that for Antonelli. Russell must have been absolutely fuming. Yuki has passed Isaac Hadjar into 11th. Oscar then gets slippy and slidey with 3 laps left to go. Sainz off with a double yellow with a virtual safety car. I genuinely believe the FIA got this wrong. However, now everyone will say, oh, 2021, Max and Lewis, meh. It was oddly poetic how Max was unable to overtake Leclerc because of a safety car. Just going to leave that in there for dramatic pause. Yeah. We all know what happened between Max safety cars and Lewis, don't we, everyone? I don't need to tell you twice. So, Max and Oscar now cannot pass. I've put here, we've been robbed of an ending. FIA have got this wrong. I still think they got it wrong, to be honest. His car was behind the barrier. It was clear as day. We didn't need a safety car. They just did it to make it a little bit more interesting. So then anyway, the virtual safety car goes in. We have half a lap of racing left. At this point, Lando is already so far ahead, it doesn't matter that he's had to do 40% of his speed. He doesn't give a fuck. He's already over the line. Like, who cares? 7th win of the season for him. Leclerc then finishes in 2nd, with Max in 3rd and Ollie in 4th. Yay! Lando is now the championship leader, which stresses me the fuck out. Let's not talk about it. And what I want to talk about quickly here, and I've put this in a note. Obviously, they were showing the crowd before and after the breakout room and stuff. And there was a sign that a fan had for Charles and Lewis, which I thought was hilarious, and I've written it down here. Message to Charles and Lewis, ignore the strategy call. If that is not the soundest piece of advice that we've heard for Ferrari so far this season, I don't know what is. I really don't know what is. I think that is honestly iconic, to be honest. Mathematically, at this point in the season, there is still a chance that George can win. Still. I don't know how, but there is. Which is just absolutely crazy. And then obviously we have the breakout room, the podium. It was nice to hear the British National Anthem again. Off-track news. There was some booing for Lando, which I get. I don't really understand it. But, you know, people are entitled to their opinions and whatever. More off-track news. The Lewis penalty aftermath is, again, he said it was harsh. I agree. I think if they were dishing out penalties, they should have definitely dished some out to some other people. I don't think Lewis was the worst of that situation. I think there was no need for Leclerc to go off the track. And the more I watch it, the more I'm like, yeah, what the fuck were you doing, bro? The George memes, absolutely quality. Obviously, as you know, they have a little bit of a rivalry, do Russell and Verstappen. And he has previously made comments about how when things don't go his way and when things are not perhaps going in his favour, he results in anger and frustration. People have made cuts and stitches of him making these comments and then his radio messages from this weekend, and they are hilarious. George, your comments did not age well. George, you do not understand, up until now, really, what being a number one driver feels like, so you cannot comment on the frustration. Okay, same as I can't comment on your frustration because I've never driven a Formula 1 car. I get it, you can lose your rag. However, did we need the sass on the radio this weekend? No, we didn't. Are you exhibiting the exact same behaviour that Max was exhibiting? Yes, you are. So, as a result, pipe down, shut the fuck up and move on. That's all I have to say about that. Russell, again, was in the stands on Friday. So he's had a very eventful weekend. He put on a Matador mask, I believe it's called. Matador? I don't know. Anyway, he had a mask and he went out into the crowd. If I was that person sat next to that random geezer in a mask and I found out it was George, I'd be fuming. I don't even like George that much. Would I like a photo with George if I saw him in the crowd like that? 100%. I don't even like George that much. But that was fucking quality, to be fair. Made for a really good social post. Ollie and his dad. Ollie is one of the cutest drivers on the grid, I think, in terms of rookies. Obviously, him and Kimmy are like besties and they're close in age and whatever. But his dad and his girlfriend being there was just so cute. His dad's radio message at the end when they're lining the cars up on the grid. I nearly cried. It was crazy. His girlfriend was literally sobbing. Yeah. Another eventful thing that we had this weekend, Yuki was in the RA272. Again, I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, so I do apologise. The Honda that claimed the first ever GP victory for Honda back in 1965. 60 years of Honda within Formula One. Fair play. Fair play. You have outdone yourselves. You have outdone yourselves. The most recent news as of today that I just want to throw out there is that Jack Crawford has been confirmed as Aston Martin third driver for 2026. Do I think he should replace Stroll? Yes. Yes, I do. That's enough of my opinion on that. I've also got here that Stella is a grumpy git. Stand by that. And that driver of not just the day but of the year should be Ollie. Based off of his progression and based off of this weekend alone, I think he deserves to be top driver of the year. And I hope that he continues to prove me correct in that assumption for the rest of the year moving forwards. Now, we don't have a race this weekend again. However, I will be back for Interlagos from the 7th to the 9th. And I will be doing some rain dances this weekend because I am hoping that Brazil will come through with the rain and make it extremely interesting. So until then, I've been your girl Bex. This has been the Race Rundown and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.